How are y'all doing this morning? Good morning, beautiful and amazing people, the fans of Magic the Gathering, the most amazing fans in the face of the planet. Thanks for joining me this morning, people who love the game as much as we do. Do you like tracking the prices of Magic cards? Let me do it for you. I'm doing it each and every morning. Monday through Friday on the morning show. Here it's the bro. I got folks in the house. I'd like to say shout outs to everybody joining us this morning. Time Capsule, Richie Dubs, Michael Superbacker. How are you folks doing? Had a good sleep last night. Nothing like a good sleep. Bro, two machines, 60 quarters, time to upgrade. Talking pop machines, eh, mister? I love it. How you guys doing? Let's go. Michael Superbacker's got the emojis running. How you doing today? Make sure the chat is working. For anybody new to the channel, we're going to warm up just a little bit here this morning. We're going to rate some AI-generated magic cards. It gives me a chance just to make sure the stream's on the scene, if you know what I mean. I'll go over the rules for you real quick here. If there's any gibberish on the card whatsoever, we fail it. You're going to hear this sound. And if the card is playable, even if it's a little bit overcosted, even if it's mana cost a little expensive, we're gonna give it a fail. It'll hear this sound. And just make sure the dinger, the buzzer, the ringer is coming in this morning. All right. Let's head over to Robo Rosewater, the only Rosewater that matters in this day and age when it comes to Magic cards. Let's check it out. Oh, we got some creepy stuff here this morning. All right, look at this one here. We've got a interesting card here. Richie Dubs here this morning. Trakenling Tongroid. Oh my. Really testing my pronunciation, enunciation, and all the shiations this morning. We got the Trakenling Tongroid. Trakenling Trongroid. Goeiemorgen, Trakenling Trongroid. I don't even know what language that is, but it's a green and 9 for this sucker. For a creature with no power and toughness, we gotta fail this. How's the buzzer working? Are we buzzing? Buzzer coming in. How's my buzzing, cousin? Yeah, this one gets a triple buzz. When Trakenling Tongroid enters the battlefield, choose any creature. If you do, Trakenling Tongroid deals 79 blur and from creature token. All right, little broken English here this morning. My English is not so good here this morning with this Trakenling Tongroid. Check it out. I'm gonna fail it. Let's get out of here. How big are they? Right, that's a 67. Looks good. Deals 67 blur. I don't know. It looks good. Smells funny. Time capsule. I know, right? Okay, it's got some funny art on it. I don't know what creature type that would be. It's kind of a mossy elk faced. How do we rate this card? Trakenling Tongroid. Fair OP unplayable world. Let's give it some word salad. Little word salad. Feed Mr. Robo Rosewater some salad. Right? Make sure he's got his mouth showing. You can give him some salad. Mountain, land, basic land. Looks good. Now this one is looking good. Hey, sometimes they try and slip it in there, but like yesterday we had a funny looking swamp. Looked more like a back alley, right? Where the Wizards of the Coast would go out the back and have a smoke. This looks more like an industrial plant. There's some mountains. At least there's some mountains in the background. We got some mountains here. That's the mountain we're talking about. This is more like an oil refinery, right? You got some stacks here, right? This is an exhaust stack. looks like for a generator of some kind. And then this over here is obviously a column of some kind, a column or a column, something that fluid would run up. And then we have another like, but there is some, all right, let's give it a pass. All right, let's pass it. Pass it, cast it, blast it, move past it. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. What else we got here? Sanctum of the Storm. This one costs 14,079 generic mana. I don't know how you're going to cast this for the 16/16, but you're going to need to tap a lot for it. Probably going to need to go infinite. Going to need an Oath of Druids infinite mana combo to cast this sucker. The 16/16 cost you 14,079 mana for this human warrior, Sanctum of the Storm. Alrighty, human warrior. It costs, yes, this card costs 14,079 generic mana. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, then shuffle, and put that card on top. Whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it dies, you may pay a 1. If you do, create a 2/2 zombie token. So for 14,079 mana, you get to put a creature, you get to put a land on top of your library, and when a creature, okay, so for you get a 16/16, you get to search your library for a basic land, put it on top of your library, and then whenever a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it dies, you get to pay 1, and if you do, you get a zombie. Right? I mean, who the hey? Okay, I mean, it is over. I guess I said in the rules, even if it's a little overcosted, we're gonna pass it. So in the rules, I guess it's a little overcosted. This is way overcosted, right? Who's that sitting in Brody's chair? I'm not familiar with Blur. That could be a swamp itself. I think so. Who the hell is this guy sitting in Brody's chair? I don't know. He showed up here yesterday. We gave him an audition. He said, "I'll give the show a try." All right, how would you rate this Pharaoh P unplayable word salad? I'm gonna give it an unplayable because we got to get like 14,000 mana. Unless you can combo out, you're not gonna be able to cast this sucker. All right. What about this card? Counter Cake Flow. A sorcery for 2 black and 2. I don't see any cake, but I will take it. Let's see. Counter Cake Flow. What's this one say? Until end of turn, creatures you control get 1/0 until end of turn and deal damage equal to its power to each non-wall creature. The fight card. Huh. Seems okay, right? All right. I am Dramed, glorious, Divictus symbol. Yeah, okay, let's give it a pass. Creatures you control get 1/0 until end of turn and deal damage equal to its power to each non-wall creature. So like your stuff deals damage to its power to everything. Let's give it a fair, and I bet you it's gonna be coming up as a majority as OP. Let's go fair. Oh no, it's fair. 49% of people say this is a fair card. It's fair to say this is a fair card. All right, what else we got here this morning? A Cornet of Grim off 1, the Flamestorm. Enchantment card, 2 red and 1. Enchanted creature has 1/1 and different powens. We saw this one yesterday. Get it out of here. It's a little bit much to handle. Good morning, folks. All right, here we are in the studio here this morning. It's great to be here. Thanks for joining us, you folks, you beautiful and amazing people. The most amazing people I know, because I get up every morning and I hang with you to do the show. So that's what I like to do with you here this morning. I like to read a couple of articles for you this morning. I got some pretty good ones to go over. It's going to be a little bit of fun. Let's get into it here this morning. You like tracking the prices of Magic cards? Is there enough information out there, or is there too much information? We're going to wrap it all together. Did you guys get a chance? Anybody watch the show yesterday? Did you get a chance to check out Web 3.0? Let's ask the chat. I kind of want to know, did anybody, uh, did you get a chance to look up Web 3.0 for yourself? And maybe this weekend's a good time to do it. One more reminder before you do it over the weekend, right? How you know where, now you know. Well, now you know, right? We were talking about Dogecoin yesterday, cryptocurrencies, Web 3.0, web wallets, where to buy magic cards with cryptocurrency. And some people are using the purchase of magic cards as an exit strategy because they're tangible. So, like, I showed you guys how to do it yesterday. I hope you got something out of the stream. If anybody's joining us here today, didn't get a chance to check it out yesterday, I'm not gonna go into it again here today. It's probably like a one-off thing that I'll cover a little bit more later once people get a little bit of time to look into it. Like I say, this technology is already out there. It's just not being used, and you can use it too. So if you get a chance to check out the stream from yesterday, if you're interested in Web 3.0, web wallets, using crypto, and how to buy cards with it, and where to go to get cryptocurrencies, check out the get cards for cryptocurrencies. Check out the stream from yesterday. All right, let's get into this article here. We got a good one from Corey Williams. Let's check it out. I'm excited to bring this. I'm excited to bring you this article because it's all about lands, some fetch lands, right? And I am stoked to bring you this article because I never opened anything that was in print that had these fetch lands in it. So I'm going to build myself a coffee, and you can too, wherever you've got Brody hanging with you. Maybe you got me dragging from the bumper of the car. You got me hanging from the rear view mirror. Maybe you got me on the dash next to the coffee pot. Wherever you got Brody, thanks for dragging me along for the ride. I'm going to try and make life a little better for some people. I want the value of these magic cards ending up in your collection in one way or another. We're going to sharpen our harpoon and try and spear some of these deals that will be coming up. Yesterday I got my case of new Capenna. I did. I got a case of new Capenna. Hold on a second. Give me a second. There we go. Yeah, I got myself a case of new Capenna yesterday, which was pretty cool. Came in the mail. Let's just bust this open. I want to see the goods. Mail unboxing Friday, right? Got a couple of unboxing videos to do. So yeah, new Capenna's out of print. Here we go. What do we got? Yeah, a case and two boosters. Time always pays. So yeah, we got our new Capenna draft boosters here. Was able to get some sick deals on that one. Like 79 bucks a box. 79 or 89 bucks a box. I think it's pretty darn Canadian, which is really cheap. So there's some good deals out there. I'm waiting for all this stuff that's being printed now. I like that set. I think there's triomes in it too, right? So we're talking about fetch lands here this morning with his article for Corey Williams. The triomes are going up in price, and like some of the triomes, if they don't see a reprint, 15 to 20 bucks for a triome, how can you go wrong with a case? How can you go wrong with eight? I got eight draft booster boxes for 700. So that's shipped, free shipping, right? Literally, this is what I'm talking about. They're showing their hands already. So like New Capenna is going out of print, right? And now the stores that have it are blowing it out because they got to make room for some new products on their shelf, on all the plethora of new products that are coming out, and those triomes are worth 10 to 15 to 20 bucks. And it's just like the stuff that you see behind me, this Kaladesh or Kaldime. The Kaldime that you see behind me on the shelf, I picked those up, set boosters, from the same place last year around the winter, around this time, maybe a year ago, for about the same price, blowing them out on sale. And that's got, there's Vorinclex in the set. So modern times with Corey Williams, we're talking about fetch lands and all the work that they can do. I would love to see another reprint of these. I never did open boxes of sets that had fetch lands in them, so I'm interested to hear what Corey has to say. So Corey Williams bringing us an article from the stock desk. In today's rendition of Modern Times, we're taking a look at the state of some very important modern staples. And what staples would these be? You might ask. The fetch lands. The ally and enemy colored fetch lands remain in the format barrier for many budget sensitive Magic players. So if you didn't play during a set that had fetches in it and were fortunate enough to open them, then you're going to have to do like Brody had to do and wait for a reprint like on Shocklands. But let's take a look at the enemy fetches. And why do they call them enemy fetches? Well, when you look at the back of a Magic card, there's the allied fetches and the enemy fetches. And for anybody who's new to Magic, if you look at the back of a Magic card, they've got the color wheel, with the white at the top, and then red, green, black, blue. And the ones that are opposite each other are the enemy ones, and then the lands that have the color pairing side by side are the allied fetches. That's just how they did it. So let's look at let's look at Marsh Flats here from Zendikar. Okay, for a time, the enemy fetches were brutally expensive, in part due to the fact that the allied colored fetches wouldn't see the light of Modern until 5 years after Zendikar's release. If you guys wouldn't mind hitting the like button, I just learned yesterday that if you folks hit the like button, the stream will get more impressions and YouTube will push it out to more people, and then we can get some more folks in the chat. And the more folks that we have in the chat, the more discussion we get, the more opinions we get, the more people we get to connect with, and the more fun into collections we get to work towards. So let's do that for me here this morning real quick. When you get a second, frappe le bouton de like, have yourself a coffee. Let's read this article about these enemy fetches. All right. In Khans of Tarkir, these enemies' fetches were brutally expensive, and it was due to the fact that the ally colored fetches wouldn't see the light of Modern until 5 years after Zendikar's release. In Khans of Tarkir, the format inaccessibility of the ally fetch lands made Zendikar fetch land priceless. Cards like Scalding Tarn at one point were over $100, and Misty Rainforest was not too far behind. I'm super glad. Like when Brody started revisiting Magic, I had some decks I had my hero deck, and I had some type 2 decks. Okay, people are like, what format do you play? And I'm like, I play type 2. And they're like, OMG, you're gonna sit down and we're gonna have to school you up. So people were playing these fetch lands, and then the color pairings that I wanted to play, the Scalding Tarn was one you needed, and the Misty Rainforest, yeah, you needed that, but they were expensive. So I didn't want to run out and grab them for $100 because they were the hotness, and all the main tournaments. If you wanted to go to, I was like, I want to go play tournaments. if you want to go play a tournament, you had to play modern because Wizards was pushing the modern format back then. Okay. So we've got the Marsh Flatch, which is the one you pay one life, you get a plains or a swamp. And then we've got Scalding Tarn, which is one that gets you the island or a mountain. So thankfully, two things happened to stabilize the price of Zendikar fetch lands. So I guess we got one set of fetch lands, the enemy fetch lands first in Zendikar, and then 5 years later, you got the allied fetch lands. So Wizards, this is an example of Wizards like holding on to and holding something back for players to create like a sense of an environment where things have sustainability and some value. Some people may say it got too high. They could have maybe printed the allied fetch lands a little sooner. But with the rate of reprints these days, I'm so surprised that we haven't seen these reprinted more than they have been. We got the shock lands printed, the ones that come into play tapped, you pay 2 life for, but we haven't got a too many reprints on these fetch lands. So thankfully, two things happened to stabilize the prices for Zendikar fetch lands. First of all, the Khans of Tarkir release brought in the first accessible reprints for ally fetch lands and immediately doubling the total of amount of fetch lands in the format. And secondly, a few years later, Modern Masters 2017 released a fresh print cycle of enemy fetch lands. While Modern Masters 2017 was super successful in bringing down the prices of Zendikar fetch lands, it opened the door for future reprints, and the most impactful reprint being Modern Horizons 2, whose large print run and reasonable manufacturer suggested retail price flooded the market with Zendikar fetch lands with multiple variations in art, foiling, and so forth. So the Misty Rainforest scene here, this is one that fetches forest or island. And today the tall Scully, and it's how much is that one? $20. Pretty cheap for Modern Horizons too. So today, Scalding Tarn from Zendikar is around $25. Misty Rainforest is 23, and the remaining enemy fetches are all under $20. Looking at the price trends from enemy fetches, they all seem to have bottomed out towards the end of 2022. In the beginning of 2023. Through today, the price point seems to be holding steady. There's really not a better time to pick up these play sets of both of these fetches. Their price points can go up from where they are currently and how dynamic Modern's meta has been. It's tough to gauge whether any one enemy fetch land could be on the margin. So see an uptick in Modern demand. What up, Dual Brain? How you doing, Ed? How you doing? So that's the enemy fetches. We got the enemy. So anybody who's trying to just even Michael Superbacker or anybody who's curious to know, anybody who's new to Magic, anybody who hasn't been playing for 5 or 10 years, to see the cycle of these cards coming out. This is a good stream, and it's good for me because I didn't play and open any of the stuff from. I didn't play when these sets were in rotation, like Zendikar or Khans of Tarkir. I was away. I was not playing Magic. I was not buying Magic. I was not cracking packs. So this all became new to me when I came back into Magic around 2016, 2017. All right, the allied colored fetch lands, unlike the enemy fetches, are a much different and more complicated story in terms of speculative value. Originally printed in Onslaught, predating Modern's inception, the ally fetches consist of Polluted Delta, Wooded Foothills, Flooded Strand, Bloodstained Mire, Windswept Heath. With the exception of Windswept Heath, almost all these fetches from among other their printings in Khans sit at $40 each, with Polluted Delta and Flooded Strand seeing the highest demand across both Modern and Legacy. Which is another reason, like these triomes, these that you can find in the new Capenna. So like this is a reason I wanted to buy these because these triomes are like 15 to $20, and I'm like, I should pick up some more boosties while I can get them in packs, right? So hopefully I could pick pack and poke some triomes out of those. If a set comes out where they have these fetch lands in them, I'll probably want to recommend getting some. So let's see when they see a reprint. Let's talk about let's talk about these allied fetches. All right, the allied fetch lands. were a well-appreciated and welcomed reprinting of Tom's and Card that helped to round out land bases in Modern. And this is at the time when Modern was the paramount format for competitive play. But they came to an unexpected cost and a dismay in Standard because they couldn't be played in Standard. 5 fetch lands in the format with a card pool as limited as Standard made for some discontent and unhappy Standard players. While the ally fetches made Cons a high expected value set, it set Standard up as one of its most uninteresting Pro Tour runs in ages, with cards like Siege Rhino, Thought Siege, Thought Seize, and their supporting fetch lands running the format. The ability of fetch lands to enable otherwise inconsistent 3-color builds to become super consistent caused some popular uproar at the time. So, while not stated in writing, it's understood that the likelihood of ally fetch lands seeing reprints in Standard set is close to zero. This makes the acceptability of these game pieces limited for many modern players. On top of this, it's been almost 10 years since Khans of Tarkir was printed, leaving many speculators reluctant to invest in the ally fetches for the fear that they might be reprinted in the future. Looking ahead in the 2023 calendar year, we assume that ally fetches won't be standard legal sets. I could see them putting them in a master's set. That's the way they've kind of had to hack the system. Kylan Perdon, how you doing, buddy? Kylan's Card Shack in the house. A weird stratified set. It's a sleeper. I may have died on the rock defending it, right? Have you looked at the card prices, Ed? 50 plus cards in that set over $50. Baldur's Gate collector box is 118 right now. Okay, that's what Kylan put on. Thanks for dropping that in the chat. Let's put it up there. So I just picked up 8 draft booster boxes of New Capenna Island for 700 Canadian shipped to my door. So what's that with exchange? That's 70, 140, 210, 420, 590 bucks for 8 booster boxes shipped. 590 US roughly. So any tips, tricks, and what you guys think is on sale, put it in the chat. I want to see it. I want to know what you guys are getting your hands on because there's some deals out there. And if you're not paying attention to all the new junk that's flying at each and every one of us in these new releases, foil ragavans and alt art borders trying to trick you into paying $600 or $700 for a booster box, wait. Let them choke on the oversupply, and we'll see what other tricks come up our sleeve here as far as reprints of any fetch lands. So we're looking ahead at the 2023 calendar year. We're assuming that ally fetch lands won't be in a standard legal set. The only realistic opportunity for a large-scale reprint would be in a Commander Masters, which doesn't come out until August. So this makes the prospect of investing in ally fetches difficult to forecast, which is unfortunate given their widespread use in modern Legacy Commander. And personally, I would be reluctant to invest in any ally fetch lands until after Commander Masters is spoiled. Outside of Commander Masters, there's an outside chance fetch lands could be reprinted in the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, as it is a direct-to-modern set. However, I doubt this will be the case despite being a terrific opportunity to do so. So Corey Williams stating here that if they would put these fetches, the allied fetches or the enemy fetches rather, into a set, it could go into the Lord of the Rings. But let's hear the bottom line from Corey on this one when it comes to fetch lands. The bottom line for fetch lands is that in this article, in a way, it'll serve as an opportunity to revisit some of the most important staples in the modern era, the fetch lands. The storied history of the fetch lands, the original printing of some of their recent reprints, makes some polarizing financial perspectives. For enemy fetch lands, there's not a better time than now to pick up yourself a playset for modern of the enemy fetch lands. If you want to play them in Modern, Legacy, or Commander, now's the time to get them. On the other hand, the ally fetch lines sit in an inflated price level that's on average double the prices of the enemy fetches. This makes speculation and investing risky, particularly as time passes and the inevitability of reprints rears its head around the corner. It's only a matter of time till Wizard go back to the well on fetch lands, but we just don't know what sets you're going to get them in. So for the calendar of 2023, there's only two realistic opportunities to see a mass reprinting of ally fetches: Commander Masters, Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth, and with Commander Masters being most realistic, even so, while the fetch lands are useful in Commander, the Battle Bond lands are much, much, much more appealing reprint opportunities, along with the Ikoria Triomes in Commander-oriented sets. At the very least, one should approach speculation on the ally-colored fetch lands with caution during the Commander's Masters and Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth spoiler season. Check out these other articles, a small sample anomalies by Corey Williams. I love it reading the articles here from Corey Williams. As Corey's a fourth-year macro economics PhD candidate at West Virginia University in Morgantown. I had a chance to reach out to Corey in an email a few weeks ago. He did get back to me and say, you're welcome for the article. It was great to connect with Corey. He considers himself a macroeconometrician, and his research body reflecting work applied in macroeconomics, time series economics, and non-parametric economics. Corey is a level 1 judge who started playing Magic around 8th, enjoys Modern Commander, EDH Cube, and outside of Magic, loves running, teaching, and the occasional cult movie. Pretty great article here. What do you folks think? Land is always a good investment. I underestimated the triomes when they were out. See, the way I figure it is, and like, here's case in point. Get it? Case and point. Eh? Case and point. Here's a case of magic cards. All right, I got a whole case of these things. Here's case in point. Capenna come out, and I was thinking, I was like, these triomes, are they going to be that good? I thought they were interesting. I thought they were neat. They're fetchable. So when we're talking about fetch lads, triomes are fetchable, right? So I thought the triomes were cute. I didn't think that. I thought they would sit around the $5 to $7 mark, maybe 10, and pick them up in singles form, but they got expensive really fast. They went to 15 or 20, or I think some of them are even. What's the most expensive triome right now? Hard to say, but I underestimated how quickly the triomes were going to grow. So what did I do? I didn't run out and buy them and singles because they were getting expensive, and I, kind of wished I had bought a little more sealed product. But then you usually get a second opportunity if you wait, right? So like there's timing the market and time in the market. So the first opportunity is like, okay, Capenna comes out, we get the spoilers, there's triomes. All right, I need my triomes. So you either buy them all on pre-release or you buy them in singles. You pile up and pile into all the sealed product. Or if you're patient and you're like, I'm gonna wait till it goes out of print and then pick up some boxes on sale. Now I'll get the draft boxes because then I can draft these with me and my friends. Then I can pick them up, and I'm buying these boxes for cheaper than what they were at release, right? So that's not a bad idea. New Capenna is pretty fun, and Ledger Shredder's in there. The unlicensed hearse, there's a few triomes in there that are playable these days. So there's usually you get a couple chances. So if you ever feel the FOMO where you're like, I missed out, I should have loaded up on Capenna when I had the chance. Now is kind of the time to pick up some cheap new Capenna overstock because stores just don't want to sit on it anymore, right? Who would want to sit on it, right? What do we got for articles here today? We got anything else for you folks? I'm sure we do. Yes, yes, we do. You like tracking the prices of Magic cards? I want to get a little bit more in depth into the sealed market. Articles, fetch lands. We get one more article up for you folks here today. We were talking a little bit about the Dungeons and Dragons set that is our Dungeons and Dragons that was being revamped. Let's grab another article because we're having way too much fun here this morning. It is Friday. Strategy article. This is a card. Okay, I got a good one for you here. All right. Want a strategy article this morning? Got a couple of options for us here. Okay, strategy article this morning. New MTG 2-card infinite combo could shake up multiple formats, or insane March of the Machine uncommon may be the best card in the set. Hmm. Are the 9 most expensive cards on the list for March of the Machine? All right, let's check this out. So, since being introduced back in 2020, the list has been a welcome addition to most every MTG set. If you're not familiar with what the list is, we'll go over it here today. So, you can get list cards in. Hey, Jurgen's here. Goedemorgen, Jurgen. How you doing, buddy? Savannah Lion? Oh, it's Friday. Now it's a party. Oh, right. It's Yabba Dabba Do time. Hey, hey, I missed you guys. Hit that like button. We're trying to generate a little bit more buzz in the mornings. The Twiddler's in the house. Dual Brains here. Holy smokes, Jurgen. Savannah Lion went to the Roger Waters concert last night. You listened to a little bit of Pink Floyd over there, a little Roger Waters. That's all right. Hey all, nice to see you here, Jurgen. Thanks for joining. Brody shaved 20 years off his face. I'd never recognized without hearing the voice. Right? I got a buddy who's getting married next weekend, so I figured I'd knock it down for the. Are you making neck face shirts too? Wait, where's the beard? What is your beard? Right? All right. Don't look. I'm losing subscribers. I'm losing viewers because of the chin, right? We need the beard back. All right, all right. Here. This you guys want a poll? There's a bunch of folks in it. Okay, which Brody? Let's do the poll here. Which Brody? Which Brody is the best Brody? Clean shaven Brody or the beardy Brody? I gotta get that now. There's a poll we can do. Any Brody is the best Brody. Oh, Kylan, I could. De bar moet terugkomen. De bar moet terugkomen. That means the beard must come back. De bar moet terugkomen. Yeah, moet komt terug. All right, vote with your mouse if you would this morning, and if you hit the like button, we're gonna get it. I didn't know this about YouTube, but the more likes you get, the more impressions you get, and I'm learning all the time. So thanks to the man Dual Brain Ed, a great man and an inspiration, somebody who has helped me grow and always giving me the inside track on how things work, so that I don't fumble around in the dark so much. I appreciate you guys in the community for sticking with me to get the stream going. So let's talk about the list, okay? We're talking, if you like tracking the prices of Magic cards, let me do it for you. I'm doing it each and every day. I'm happy to have you guys here. All are welcome here on the show. So, but since being introduced, we're talking about the list, and since being introduced in 2020, the list has come back with an addition to almost every Magic the Gathering set. After all, this rotating list of cards gives many Magic the Gathering players what they crave the most: reprints. Appearing within set boosters roughly 25% of the time, the list allows Magic players easier access to a plethora of enticing reprints. You know, the word of the week is plethora. I love it. It's just been used so much this week. Unfortunately, despite several compelling picks, not every card on the list is a financial powerhouse. After all, alongside modern and commander staples, the list also features an assortment of unexciting but flavor rich legendary creatures. Within March of the Machines version of the list, flavorful legendary creatures have been the majority of editions, for better or for worse, when these may delight Magic's Vorthos players. For value enthusiasts, sadly, some expensive cards have been cut as a result. For example, surprisingly, still expensive Old Gnawbone, that's the 7/7 dragon that makes treasure, has finally been cut from the list. So you won't be able to gnaw the bone off the list anymore. And thankfully, while this loss was somewhat disappointing, there are still plenty of high value cards to find. As a quick note, before we dive into things about the list, the prices we'll be citing in this article are based on TCG Player's market price at the time of writing. And additionally, when it comes to MTG cards in the list, printing matters quite a lot in some cases. Subsequently, some cards, such as Time Stretch, may seem out of place following their Dominaria Remastered reprint. Furthermore, it's important to note that after being reprinted, prices of some cards on this may fall subsequently. While we do our best to keep things up to date, there may be some mild prints inconsistency. Mild prints inconsistencies? Price inconsistencies. It does say prints, but I know what they mean. With that caveat out of the way, however, let's dive into the list for March of the Machine, which has added a few choice MTG cards to hunt. So these are cards that'll be available in the list slot. So when you get a chance, let's take a look here. The plethora was introduced 2 years ago. I always think there are Three Amigos movie when I hear plethora, right? The Three Amigos. I always think of Luke Radowski because he starts his stream that way. It's pretty good. Which Greek god was it that had his pout in his beard? Zorba Alfonso? Ed's a great guy. I love the Ed. All right, let's take a look at this card. Honorable mention here to Time Stretch. Target player takes 2 extra turns. This is a 10 mana card. Hard to cast. But nevertheless, this due to variations of the price of Time Stretch, which we'll get into shortly, we're currently keeping it as honorable as I mentioned on our list. This, despite it technically being marginally more expensive than Kietra Triome for a few cents. Despite this price difference, we're not confident copies of Time Stretch from the list will actually be expensive. Huh, maybe they won't be. Well, it's sticking around as just an honorable mention for now, and when March of the Machines releases, the potential $17 value persists, we'll enshrine this into the list properly. Until now, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Having just been reprinted in Dominaria Remastered, Time Stretch, when putting this list together, initially passed Time Stretch by, and after all, copies of this fairly expensive card can now be picked up for $4. Given the addition of the list another look, however, we soon realized that we've been fooled. Much of our initial surprise, the version of Time Stretch coming back to the list isn't the cheap Dominaria remastered print. Instead, players are getting a blast from the past with the original Odyssey printing coming back. This version of the card is significantly more expensive, costing around $17 on average, and makes the stretch quite the stretch when you pull off you're lucky enough to find it in a set booster. Unfortunately, while Time Stretch's ability gives you 2 extra turns and a lot of fun, the card's value may not hold. After all, Dominaria Remastered reprinted, the demand for this card is somewhat lacking. Since it's only played in Commander and impossible, it's once March of the Machine launches, this card's price will drop. So you got the Time Stretch. Is it sorcery speed? Yeah, it's sorcery speed. 2 extra turns for 10 mana. It's just double Time Warp. I don't know if you can get to 10. The Kethra Triome, that's getting a printing on the list from Ikoria. $17 for the coming in at number 9 is Ikoria Triome. This card is $17 right now. The Forest Island Mountain. Man, we'll kick it off properly. We got this new edition from March of the Machines. Originally printed back in Ikoria, the Lair of the Behemoth, this tri-colored land hasn't seen a reprint to date. Subsequently, it commands a reasonably decent, nice $17. It hasn't changed dramatically in months. Predominantly, the card is played within a large number of commander decks and due to certainty offering 3 colors of mana. The card can also see extensive amounts of modern play due to Wrenn and 6 builds and the prevalence of Wrenn and 6 in the format, combined with Dominaria mattering due to the introduction of Leyline Binding from Dominaria United. As if that wasn't enough, Ketria Triumph also has a compelling, albeit somewhat expensive, cycling ability. Thanks to this, Ketria Triumph also sees a decent amount of play with Temur and 4-colored modern decks. This one cycles? Yeah, for 3 mana, you get to cycle it. So you just discard it for 3 mana and draw another card. Due to all this demand, Ketria Triumph has maintained its value for quite some time, however, may be about to change. As we've seen fairly recently, Magic the Gathering cards that have been reprinted that appear in the list are prone to losing value. Subsequently, even though Ketria Triumph is a fairly modern card, the $17 value fall may just chop by a couple of bucks, at least over the coming month. Phyrexian Crusader. This Crusader's got the pie in his Rexia. This is the one that is sort of a sleeper backup win condition. And now it's getting a little more attention because it is got infect on it. Okay, I wanted to ask, what is Web 3.0? We talked about it yesterday, Savannah Line. If you go to really simple here, if you go to the live stream from yesterday morning, go to the comment section in yesterday's live stream, and I put the minute number. I think it's 29 minutes and 40 cents. I go over it there. There's a bit of a 10-minute spiel what Web 3.0 is. It's a basically it's all there. It's a browser extension. It's something that you probably already have the capability of using, but just don't have it activated or turned on. It's a way to buy magic cards with crypto, and we go over that. Are we going on to OnlyFans or a new job? Only bros, right? So check that out if you want to check it out. Just hit the it's about a 20 to 30 minute spiel on it yesterday, but if you just hit the comment section from the live stream yesterday, anybody who wants to know how to buy magic cards with cryptocurrencies, where to buy them, and what Web 3.0 is, watch that video and then hit me up on the Discord if you have any other questions. I can walk you through it. It's pretty neat. And I know there's some people doing it, but there's nobody talking about it. Full house today. Make some more coffee. I need another coffee. Grow the beard back. All right. Don't have it. Yeah, well, the funny thing is, and if you just watch the video, if you go there, please watch the video. Please check it out because there are and I'm going to do a follow-up video. There'll be another video at some point. I'll be talking about it. A lot of cryptocurrencies you can get for free. And I can show you how most cryptocurrencies, and in fact, some of the ones that are, and we're talking finance here this morning, so it's okay. But some of the cryptocurrencies that are set to boom right now were given away for free, and a lot of them are free. Okay, it's funny. It's funny. So like, there's ways. The thing is with Web 3.0, you have to set yourself up a wallet so you can claim free stuff, and then sometimes you just hold on to it and wait to see if it does something. Like the old days. What about the follow-up on the follow-up to the follow-up, Brody? We will have a follow-up video. I just want to give you guys a chance to start by looking at that video. We will do a follow-up at some point. That was our topic of discussion yesterday. Was good. So check it out. It's one of my favorite live streams that I ever did. I'll tell you, I had more fun making that live stream yesterday than any other live stream morning show. I don't know why. It was just so much fun. Because I got excited to talk about it. I shaved my beard for that. I shaved for that. All right? Because I wanted to like put it out there. I wanted to shock the world, right? By talking about something nobody's discussing. So the Phyrexian Crusader, this one's a zombie knight. Okay, so this is going up in price, and it has been. People have been splashing it in modern decks as a backup win condition because it's got protection from red and from white. It's got first strike, and it's also got infect. The interesting fact with the Herald of Hoofbeats, the Phyrexian Crusader and the Mirran Crusader are both knights. So these two knights can work with the Herald of Hoofbeats, which is a card that's coming out now, and it's seen a reprint again here on the list. A new addition from March of the Machines is the Crusader. Until recently, this potent impact card had been reprinted first, debuting and mirrored into Siege. That was until recently when the card returned as part of the showcase All Will Be One Secret Lair drop. That's right, Brody did do a Secret Lair review of the Pyrexians, and this card's in it. So since being reprinted in the theme, so do we really need it on the list? There's already a Secret Lair which includes it. Okay. Good point. Since being themed on the Secret Lair, the value of the Phyrexian Crusaders increased somewhat remarkably, and is likely thanks to the plethora of toxic cards that Wizard printed in Phyrexia. All will be one is the case. Thanks to this additional support for Infect and Toxic builds, the price of Phyrexian Crusader has risen around the $18 mark. How long will it stay at this price increase? At this point, however, remains to be seen. Mycosynth Lattice. Here's a card. Oh, this is a game-winning card. This is a back-breaking card. Mycosynth. Interesting card. All right, let's check it out. To be honest, the life of a YouTuber is not all fun and play. We need to do a follow-up to the follow-up so we can follow up. Exactly. I want to watch the follow-up. Love you guys. I love it. Let's follow up. Clint Ewes. Good morning, Brody. Looking straight up. Clint Black vibes going on. Robert's Table's in the house. Thanks for joining the discussion, Robert's Table. Appreciate you for joining. Which Brody do you like better? Do you like the new Brody 3.0? This is Brody 3.0, right? Could be Brody 4.0. Actually, this is Brody 2.5 because like yesterday was 3.0 because it was right down to the wood. Brody 2.0 could be coming back any point. Let's talk about Mycosynth Lattice, another card that made it on the March of the Machines list. This was a battle bond card and initially added to the list in Phyrexia All Will Be One. Lattice is a powerful card. This one's crazy. Check it out. This one's a game winner because it combos with Karn, right? This 6-mana Lattice usually goes in the sideboard. You use Karn to go and get it, and it says all permanents are artifacts in addition to their other types. And all cards that aren't on the battlefield, spells and permanents, are colorless. Players may spend mana of any color to cast spells. So Mycosynth Lattice makes everything an artifact, and then people go and people put this in the sideboard neatly tucked away, and then you get Karn on the battlefield to go and get it. And then Karn says activated abilities of artifacts that your opponents control can't be activated. So this is a game lock piece, the Mycosynth Lattice, and it was really expensive, and it's really hard to beat in in modern if somebody can get this lock on you, because they're going to start blowing up your lands. So enlisted in the list, and Mycosynth Lattice is a powerful and got banned for some competitive MTG formats. I missed that banning, but we mentioned it recently when talking about this card. The Lattice creates a game-breaking lock with Karn the Great Creator, and you let your opponent not use activate abilities, including their lands. Outside of being banned in competitive modern, Mycosynth Lattice is a fan favorite for artifact decks and commander. The card is particularly powerful in Urza Tron Alliance pre-constructed decks from the Brothers War, and while Lattice is undoubtedly a powerful card, unfortunately sees many to reduce in Phyrexia will be one. Its value has fallen somewhat, initially priced around $38. I see. I'm glad I didn't rush out and buy the Mycosynth Lattice so I could combo. The value has since dropped around to $22, and the Mycosynth Lattice staying at the list for another few months at least. Is possible this price may fall even further. Phyrexian, you see, a Phyrexian Altar. Pyrexia. Pie to the face. Rexia. $22 for the Phyrexian Altar. $3, sack a creature, add 1 mana of any color. This card isn't as good as Ashnod's Altar, I don't think, but it is kind of good in its own situation because it had colored mana. The Ashnod's Altar gives you colorless mana. So the Phyrexian Altar is an incredibly EDH combo piece that was also a new addition to the list for Phyrexia. All Will Be One. The cards initially had a huge price tag that was dropped down a little bit by its reprinting and double masters, and since then it's appearing on the list. The card's been fluctuating a little bit, thanks not too much at the time of writing. Phyrexia Altar has also dropped $1 in value since appearing on the list, and it should mean that the price remains around the $22 mark for some time at least. If someone tries to play this against you in a game of Commander, chances are you want to deal with it quickly. It's difficult for the Phyrexian Altar to achieve anything on its own. When used unfairly, Altar tends to end many games. Force of Vigor. Are you wigging out? Let's get some vigorous force. The force of vigor. This card was so good in Modern Horizons 2. I can't believe that it's still stuck around and it's still really good. Secret Lair is slightly glitched out in an attempt to get the D&D. It made me log in when I went back to the blank screen, no login. I cleared my cookies, history still blank. Dang. I name a chunky dragon. All right, let's check this out. The force, the force, the force of course. The force of vigor can be yours. It used to be the most expensive Magic the Gathering card on the list. Force of Vigor has gotten dropped down a few fair spots. This one's so good because it's got alternate casting costs, right? If it's not your turn, you can exile a green card in your hand, and at instant speed, you can destroy up to 2 artifacts or enchantments. Costs you 4 mana. Hard casting, it's not so bad. It's a really decent card for Legacy, and it plays well in Commander, Legacy, Modern, and I would say Vintage too could even include it because of the 0 mana alternate cost, where you can just pitch a green card. We've got that Force of Willish ability where you exile a green card to destroy 2 things. This card was after all, there's plenty of demand for this modern sideboard staple, especially since it deals with Urza's Saga. And alongside its obvious strength of destroying enchantments, being able to play this card for free allows some decks to get around that cripple or tire strategy. So long as Force of Vigor is in your hand, you no longer have to worry about getting screwed by Blood Moon or Relic of Progenitus, for example, because you don't need mana to cast it. Urza's Saga, thank goodness. Urza's Saga is getting printed on the list. This is a card that myself personally, I want it, I need it. I didn't get any of it in Modern Horizons 2, and the price just kept going up, and it's so darn good. So to see Urza's Saga, this land, getting printed on the list might be good for Brody because it could give me an opportunity to open some. An absolute powerhouse card. It should be no surprise finding Saga on the list. After all, it sees play in many competitive Modern, Legacy, and Vintage decks. There's certainly a demand for it, and it's remarkable because it appears on the list in Brothers War. Copies of the Saga can actually climb in value since then. However, the card's continued presence on the list has brought prices back down to normal. At the time of writing, copy of Urza's Saga from the list is around 29 bucks, and notably, it's more expensive than the regular Modern Horizons 2 copy of the card, which is only 28 bucks, and that's a whole $1 in savings. So unsurprisingly, along being a powerful card within a competitive Urza's Saga, it's also thanks to this card final mode that allows you to tutor serve for some of the best mana rocks around. Fancy a free, albeit somewhat delayed mana crypt or a soul ring, it still gets you there. Rain of Daggers. Holy smokes, what's this card? I never even heard of it. Rain of Daggers, this is the card. Look at the friggin' art on this thing. 4 mana and 2 black, so 6 in total. 2 black and 4. Destroy all your opponent's creatures. For each creature you destroy this way, you lose 2 life. Hey, you could use this with something like Mirror Universe, get your life total low and then just exchange it with your opponent. You're already at 6 mana anyway, and Mirror Universe is that. Let's read the Rain of Daggers and what they have to say about it. It's the most expensive new addition to the list thanks to the March of the Machines, and this is quite reasonable for a surprise considering that Rain of Daggers is ratherly a dangerous card. While the card is capable of wiping all your opponent's creatures and keeping yours intact, the Rain of Daggers drawback ends your life total. Due to this, sustained drawback, it's a little rare that the Rain of Daggers is played anywhere at all, really. If you're going to find this card anywhere, it's probably in Commander, but like I said, if you combine it with the Mirror Universe, you can just swap that life total of the opponent. It can actually make the Rain of Daggers a bit of a win condition. Now, currently, it's unclear whether the price of Rain of Daggers will go up. Once available now, it's true. On the list, it's being said that the price drop seems to be an almost certainty. At the time of writing this, the near mint copy of the Rain of Daggers that commands $30 price tag is still intact, but copies of the card are available for as low as 16 bucks. In this instance, you'll have to put up with using a moderately played copy, but due to this price discrepancy, we shouldn't be at all surprised to see Rain of Daggers price fall significantly once the new near mint examples are ready and available. Subsequently, it may not be long before it drops down or even loses its position on the list altogether. Blighty Boy as number 2. Ho, 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 ho. Here's a great card. Hubba, hubba. Hubba, hubba. Give me some bubba gum. The Bright Boy. Full on chonker. Savannah Line says he got one saga but gave it away. Don't get it yet, right? Looks like they'll check you out as a guest. Friggin' weirdos. How it works and what's so great, right? You don't get it yet. How it is and what's so great. Okay, so the saga let's go back to the Saga, for example. Like, okay, so I know how good this card is because I've been beaten up by it by Tyler Friesen. T Freezy keeps beating me up with this. So the Saga, with the constructs. So there's another so with Thespian Stage, you can copy this Saga and like it retains the abilities. Okay, so that's one way you can abuse this card. It also makes the construct tokens, so it does that for you. And in a deck where you're going like in an Urza deck, it's really good because the construct tokens have that ability, that +1 for each artifact you control. So in a deck that makes multiple construct tokens, those constructs just get really big and they get hard to deal with. And the fact that you get to go search up your mana vault, rather your mana crypt, or a Soul Ring, or a 1 mana rock, it seems pretty darn good. There's lots of ways to abuse it. Some decks recur lands. You can copy it so that your Thespian Stage retains the ability on the Saga, and then it keeps tripping again and again and again. So that's another way to abuse it. Saga's pretty good. It is pretty good. There's a few other ways to abuse it. I've lost to it a lot. The constructs create an onboard win condition that they don't get cast. They're kind of hard to deal with. And if you're going and getting mana rocks all the time, like running with Sensei's Divining Top, like Divining Top's a 1 mana, so you can combo for the win with it. It can tutor up Divining Top because Divining Top costs 1 mana, and then with the new Urza, that's a win condition because you just go and draw your whole deck, right? You can make infinite mana using Isochron Scepter and Dramatic Reversal and untap all your rocks and your Divining Top and do it over and over again. And Urza Saga lets you go and get that combo piece. So it gets you Divining Top, and Divining Top goes infinite with the Urza. Yeah, and it goes and gets you your Mana Crypt. It makes the constructs. You could copy it with Thespian Stage to get more constructs. As you're building your board, you get more threats. It's pretty decent. It's not too bad there, Lion. I mean, I lost to it enough times to say, okay. And it still taps for mana. You can actually make it tap for mana if you, I think if you make the Urborg, it becomes a land in addition to its other types. Let's talk about Blighty Boy. This is a card that I traded away my Blight Boy from Mirrodin. I traded away my Blightsteel Colossus from Mirrodin. I got squigged. I was getting into modern, and I needed some stuff for my good old fashioned modern deck, and like I traded Blightsteel away. I was so sad because it's actually really good. I've killed Emrakul with Blightsteel. It seems pretty great, you know. It does. It's funny to make Emrakul a 4/4 when Blightsteel blocks it, and you go, "You want to try that again because it's gonna kill it." Let's check it out. Blighty Boys is, what does it cost on a Blighty Boy? 12 mana? Yeah, 12 mana for this 11/11. I like the fact that it's got the shuffle ability on it. It's got trample, it's got infect, it's indestructible, and if it would be put into graveyard from anywhere, it gets shuffled into its owner's library instead. This one's 36 bucks. It's some reprint equity. Fortunately, I was able to open one in Double Masters, so I didn't have to go out and buy it again. It was initially priced around 40 to 50 bucks when entering the list. Blightsteel has got fallen from grace somewhat, and at the time of writing, this card's currently around 36 bucks. It's also playable in Vintage with Oath of Druids, if this is the card you want to go get. If you can get it out on turn 1 or turn 2 and give it haste, you're pretty much swinging for GGs on turn 1, and there's a way to do that. You can play Oath of Druids, and you can expedite it by flipping this into the battlefield and then giving it haste and swinging for 11 infect. At the time of writing this card, around 36 bucks is pretty equivalent to other printings of the card in Double Masters, and it's in a secret layer. Yes, that's right. It was in the secret layer as well. Predominantly seeing play in Commander, especially with high-cost artifact-focused decks. I think it's got more of a home in Vintage myself, but it's a one-hit killer, this card. It's unlikely Blightsteel will dip very much further. With that being said, there's another 3-month stint on the list ahead of it for now. And Blightsteel Colossus is undoubtedly a fantastic find within March of the Machine set booster. Sword of Feast and Famine making its way on the list. This is the #1 card. #1 reprint on the list of March of the Machines. So if you hit any of these in your list slot, you know you're in some money. This is the stuff you're looking for. So if you hit any of these cards, you're doing okay. It's you'll let's bear with me here. The Sword of Feast and Famine. And a break from tradition at the top spot of this list. It's a new card for once. Instead, Sword of Fast and Famine retains its top spot after being introduced in Pyrexia. All will be one. Remarkably, joining the list at a $40 price tag, Sword of Feast and Famine has actually gotten more. Is it Fast and Famine? No, it's Feast and Famine. Why do they rate it as Fast and Famine? I don't know. Well, let's not worry about it. With the sword launching in March of the Machines, it's possible this card price could continue continue to climb. Given that the list makes this card much more accessible, however, we wouldn't pin it all of our hopes on it. Sword of Feast and Famine seems a little too sees a little to no constructed play, but an absolute powerhouse in Commander format. The ability to untap all your lands after dealing damage with an equipped creature causes you to execute vast tempo swing, either getting back into the game from behind or put you some distance between you and the rest of the table. Outside the list, the card's seen little to no reprints, resulting in Sword of Feast and Famine getting obscenely price tagged all the way at $42. So these are the cards. These are the cards that are going to be added to the list. The 10 most expensive cards that you're going to find in your list slot if you're opening March of the Machines. Look for those in set boosters. You know what time it is. You like tracking the prices of Magic cards? Is there enough information out there? Is there just too much information to know? We're going to do a full recap. Let me do it for you. We're going to be checking the prices of movers and shakers here this morning. We're going to check the all list. It's Friday. It's about that time on Friday where we have to look at the cards from the entire week to see what has been moving across all formats. How big is the list this time? 1,250 cards? Hard to know. I don't know how big it is. Thanks. Keep the comments coming. Ways to use this Urza Saga. Everything you need to know about Urza Saga. Interesting. There's a website called Everything You Need to Know About Urza Saga from Star City Games. Cool. I'm gonna post this in chat. Savannah Lion. Everything you need to know about Urza Saga. Check it out. They go over it. You wanna take my like and like it. Thanks. Urza Saga the card. Some people not sold on how good it is, but there is an article there. I posted it in chat for you folks. It's interesting. I'll have to read it myself. I want to find out 99 ways to run Urza's Saga. Why not? Move with me, shake with me. Let's take a look at the list here this morning. We're going to run the all list. This is everything for the week. We're going to look at these are your movers and your shakers here this morning. I want to see some more movers and the shakers here. Top of the list, Demonic Hordes from Beta. Oh, this is a demon card. Going up 100% for this Beta card. Are we seeing some action in the old border cards? Well, let's look at this one. This one is a game-ending card. If you can tap this thing and do it again. Instill Energy on a Demonic Hordes back in the day was a really brutal combo. If somebody was playing black-green and they dropped the demonic hordes and instill energy. This was a darn busted card, right? Let's put the instill energy on it. This allows you to do it the turn it comes into play. You may untap target creature both during your untap phase and one additional time during your turn. Target creature can also attack the turn it comes into play. So this doesn't allow you to tap it to do its ability, but it can swing for 5. And for 1 green, an instill energy on a demonic hordes is a way to bust up the game board. So this one has to. Let's take a look at it. It's a 5/5. It's a demon. You tap it to destroy target land. Okay, it's also a threat, so it's a 5/5, 3 black and 3. But I think people are playing the second ability or the first ability that to tap it and destroy opponent's lands. At the beginning of your upkeep, you got to pay 3. If you don't, it becomes tapped, and you have to sacrifice a land of your opponent's choice. TJ Longhair says it's a demon, that one he's missing in white border. Ah, you're missing the demon card, right? It works with Liliana's contract. It's funny there's no decks found using it. Let's look at Brody wants to draw some lines on some charts here. Let's look at this chart, okay? So look at this chart here. We got a bit of a tabletop pattern, right? So this is like a tabletop pattern where it continues to be flat in places. Like, you see how it's got these tops? Let's clear that out here. Let's make this a little smaller. Let's pick another color. You see how flat it is across the tops of these? This is like a plateau pattern, right? Flat, flat. And these spikes here, these dips that we see, these are very, very suspicious. It keeps bouncing up off this $1,400 resistance line. So there's a little bit of resistance there. It could be people picking up beta copies. I don't know how many people are buying copies of the beta. And this showing at $871, it seems to be just banging its head off that resistance line again. And I think it's overpriced at that point. I don't think that's a really good indication. It's just itself ringing its head off the ceiling of the upper price limit for this card. So don't be alarmed on that. It's not reserved list. It is a win condition. If you want a black bordered version of it, I guess you could get it. Here's another card that is. Why is this card going up in price? Look at this card, Ice Storm. This card is spiking hard. It was $600 and now it's showing at $2,938. Is this a pricing error? Has somebody keyed it in wrong? Was it supposed to be priced at $239, but somebody missed the decimal? That's what I immediately think here. Maybe a graded copy sold. Let's just draw a little. Let's see here. This is an insane price chart. It's been east to west with no support, and then now it's got this huge tick up in price. You see that? Do we see that here, folks? I think this Ice Storm is suspiciously high in price. Is there some tech that we don't know about? No deck's using it. I'm pretty sure that the price that it should be is. See, we got a light played version here. Digital Heroes. You got these two folks here. This is probably it right here. So we got a light played copy for $2,938. $2,973. Here's what I'm talking about. This is an anomaly. This has got to be a pricing error. Somebody's keyed it in wrong. They probably want $293 for it. I don't know how you're going to be asking $2,000 for a light played copy when you can get it in the vendor store for $399. That is what's pushing the price up here. So if you're watching these movers and the shakers, this is a good indication, a false indication. Now it's going to go up And if they're asking $3,000 for it, I think they're just a little bit bananas. But don't be fooled. Like if you're like Brody and you wake up in the morning and you're like, hey, I got to check the movers and the shakers list, and then you see this, like a card like Ice Storm showing up at $2,938. This is what I've done before, and it's worked out for me in the past, but more often not. Okay, you wake up in the morning, you look at the movers and the shakers, you see Ice Storm at $2,038, and then you go, man, I can still buy it from the vendors for $300. I should buy it. Okay, so this has only worked out for me in a case of cards like Verdure and Enchantress from beta. This is another card that has seen some very weird price spikes due to the algorithm that tracks these things. Right now, this beta version is sitting at $1,124, but look at some of those price spikes on this card, and I don't know how to explain it other than a pricing error, okay? Or some people buying this card. See it spike up to about $6,000. So Brody woke up one day and seen this price spiking probably around here in Zendikar, and it's done it a couple of times, and then immediately went out and bought copies because I thought I was getting a good deal on it. Don't do that, because it's like that FOMO feeling, and I've done it over and over again until I finally realized, like, you go right down here and you start looking at eBay and tracking some of the sold listings, and you realize, hey, that's somebody made a pricing error pushing up the entire market, and I just got suckered in to paying way too much for a card that I could have probably got a better deal on. Earthquake. Here's an interesting card, and I want to bring it up here because Teen Wolf brought up Rolling Earthquake on the stream the other day. Here's an interesting card from Double Masters. Rolling Earthquake deals X damage to each creature without horsemanship and each player. So if you're going to be playing horsemanship, why not throw a copy of this into your deck? Rolling Earthquake, it's a little better in tribal than regular Earthquake. If you're playing Changelings, perhaps. If you're playing Changelings and you have a way of giving all your knights horsemanship, with the new Herald of Hoofbeats, this Rolling Earthquake can be quite good because it's going to deal X damage to each creature without horsemanship in each player. An entire empire can take centuries to build, but mere moments to destroy. Earthquake Dan has 13,500 copies of them. Earthquake Dan? I gotta look that up. Earthquake Dan. Nice. Really? I never even know there was a person named Earthquake Dan. Wow. Mind blown. Love it. I'm gonna have to check that out. You guys are split on which Brody is better. Clean shaven Brody or the beardy Brody. All right. Let's go on to the next card. $617 for the beta. The beta card's moving on the list here. The Black Border. Why? Because they're playable in vintage and old school, and they're still playable in the newer formats. If you want to bling out a deck, see, the way you can do it is if, like, say you want to get yourself you want to get Lightning Bolt, and you can always like trade into these older cards. Moat. All right. So we got a 51% spike up in Earthquake. Quite possibly. I might try and build around the Rolling Earthquake rather than include Earthquake. But a deck that's pro-red, there's even pro-red decks using it, and dragon decks that have flying creatures, they're going to run Earthquake. It's quite good because it destroys everything on the ground. Poor Brown, the red fell, he's going to triple that amount of damage and then just wipe the board. So Earthquake can now be a win condition with cards like Fiery Emancipation and Tollbrand. Pretty decent card. Miriam the Sentinel Worm and a few other cards running it. Earthquake. Moat. So this card was included in the deck by Brian Wiseman. And I was lucky enough to meet Brian Wiseman when I was at Magic 30. Brian Wiseman's the pioneer of the deck. And it's funny they don't have the deck listed here, But if you look it up, there's a card that or there's the deck. It's a blue-white control. It's a control deck that was pioneered in the early days of Magic the Gathering by Brian Wiseman, and it's still popular to this day, even in old school. It used cards like the Moat and Muhammadi Djinn to release the air, and Sarah Angel to just take control of the board. This card has also been bought out a couple of times by a guy named Jeff Barry or Chuck Barry, something Barry. The Barry guy bought this card out. He was one of the guys. So if you're new to Magic, anybody who's new to Magic, this is the first card that was publicly discussed on the internet about being bought out. Okay, and I don't know where this fella is now, but effect in the game of Magic the Gathering where you see here like Moat spiking up to $10,000. But there was this Barry guy who bought out Moat, and it was sort of like one of the first persons to come out publicly and state that they were going to be doing buyouts on a card, and he had already targeted it. So that paved way for other people copying the same behavior pattern, and since then people have done it over and over again, pushing this card up to $1,350. It's on the reserve list, so that's the experiment that Barry was doing. And the price has never come back. I wonder how many copies the guy is still holding on to this day, but only he will know. Or did the fella release these cards back into the market one at a time at the inflated price point? Myself, I don't own a copy of the Moat. I wish I did. I've stayed away from it simply because I know that about the card, and I know that it's inflated. So I'm being very careful and maybe trying to use some timing to eventually get myself a copy of the Moat for the reserve list collection. Creatures without flying can't attack. Again, you can play it in Dragons. If you're playing it in Alela, the Artful Provocateur, Giada, Font of Hope, in Angels, we'll definitely play it. Sigarda will play it, and Angus McKenzie will play it. All cards playing it in Commander. Expensive card. But there's another card that's an alternate if you're new to Magic and you want to try another. This says creatures with flying can't attack. So this is going to make you a bit of a target on the board because your opponent's creatures with flying can't attack, and they can't attack other players. So if you look at Island Sanctuary, this is a similar card. It says if you were to draw, you have to skip drawing a card during your draw step, but that shouldn't be a problem in Commander where you have Howling Mine and other cards that allow you multiple ways to draw cards. The Island Sanctuary can be an alternative to Moat, and it doesn't paint a target on your back so much as the Moat card does. It says, if you would draw a card during your draw step, instead you may skip that draw. If you do skip the draw until your next turn, you can't be attacked except by creatures with flying or island walk. So this is a cheaper version of Moat, and if you combine that with Mystic Decree, this is another card from Homelands. It's on the reserve list. So you can sort of get there with Moat. Creatures lose flying and island walk. Mystic Decree is a card that makes all creatures lose flying. So if you combine Mystic Decree with Moat, nothing can attack. Or if you to make Moat even more powerful, you can combine it with Mystic Decree, so all creatures lose flying and nothing can attack. And if you want a cheaper version of that sort of a same effect, you can use the Island Sanctuary and combine that with the Mystic Decree, and then all of a sudden, you can't be attacked. Okay, so Moat coming in at the top of the list here, the number 4 on your movers and the shakers for the entire week. And this card here, Elephant Graveyard, I want to get a copy of this. It's really good, especially in Changelings. Holy smokes. Arabian Nights Rare. This is a deal, and I'll tell you, this is a deal. If you've got a list together, and like we're waiting for November, we're waiting for the super high-end sale. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Anybody who's tracking sales, and there's a few people out there who track sales, and I watch the Moxman's channel every single week because he does a really good job of tracking prices of sales, right? This is a card I would put on your radar for when the super high end sale happens. Okay, so this is a rare from Arabian Nights, and it's a land. So it can go in so many decks. It's good in changelings if you're going to eventually play Elephant Tribal, but look at it. Tap to add a colorless mana or regenerate an elephant or a mammoth. So not only do we hope to get better elephants or mammoths, printed, so that's not so bad, elephant tribal. But with changelings, where creatures are all creature types, even in the horsemanship deck, where you're going to go knight tribal or changeling, and you're going to make everything a changeling and all creature types, this adds regeneration to your board on land, so it's hard to deal with, and it also taps for mana. A pretty darn good card for $371, if you ask me. Morophon the Boundless is playing it, and Niv Mizzet. Why is Niv Mizzet Draco Genius playing it? I wonder. The Draco Genius. He's not an elephant. He deals the damage. He's a dragon wizard. He got why is the elephant graveyard in here? Yeah, elephant graveyard. Have we got an elephant in here that we want to? I'll have to look into this a little bit more. But Morophon the Boundless is definitely a card that I would consider playing with the elephant graveyard if you want to regenerate your commander. Makes it hard to kill if it's regenerated. Good morning, Gamey Bob. Thanks for joining the chat. Hey, Gamey Bob's here. My buddy. You still need that graveyard land with good ability and sweet art, right? It was Stone Rain on Casual Commander 2 weeks ago in short, and it's 135,000. Holy smokes. Earthquake Horsemanship thingy. Yeah, that's a decent card, right? Rolling Thunder. I love it. Which Drago? Elephant Graveyards played with Niv Mizzet Draco Genius. All right, Ancestral Recall. Here's a card from Collector's Edition, $947. The problem is I'll tell you personally, a lot of people love the Collector's Edition. Then there's the 30th Collector's Edition. I only have one card in Collector's Edition. I remember when Collector's Edition came out for the first time, you could buy the whole box of all the ABU cards for about $50. And I stayed away from it at the time. I was like, I still want the real cards. They're not tournament legal. So I want to be able to play my cards in tournaments. So I have personally stayed away from Collector's Edition. But this, if you want to clip the corners on your card and maybe play it, I guess you could throw it in the sleeve and play this Ancestral Recall. The Collector's Edition cards are just not for me personally. If they're for you, that's totally cool too. I just try and I try harder. I would say, why wouldn't I put that money towards an original copy if I could? This card's pretty expensive, however, in beta. So I don't know if that's an option for everybody. So maybe the $600 copy of the Ancestral Recall is the way to go. In a casual play group or in Commander, it's probably an easier way to draw 3 cards. But any of these decks that are listed here, this is kind of some misinformation because you've got all these decks listed using it, including Blue Tinker, Paradoxical, Doomsday, Oath of Druids, and all these vintage decks, except the version that we're showing here. Don't just so you are aware, you can't play the Ancestral Recall Collector's Edition in vintage. So don't buy it if you're thinking you're going to put it into a vintage deck and go to a tournament or in an old school deck. Nettling Imp. This is a cool card. I like this card, and it's on the movers and the shakers this year. Black bordered alpha uncommon. I love the art on this. Quentin Hoover. This is like an underrated Magic the Gathering artist, one of the original artists from Magic the Gathering, and I love this style of art because it's right up there with the Kaya and Phil Folio, kind of a cartoony style of art. Let's look at this Nettling Imp, okay? The Nettling Imp, $200 for the alpha. This is an uncommon. Okay, so let's see. What does it do? Summon Imp. All right. So there was like, now we've got like the Stinkweed Imp, who's like the champion of imps. But back in the day, like the original imp was this little guy. So it's a taunting card. You can pay a black and 2, choose target non-wall creature, and the active player has controlled continuously since the beginning of the turn. That creature attacks this turn if able. Destroy it at the beginning of the next end step. If it didn't attack this turn, activate during opponent's turn before the attackers are declared. So this card, is it got any decks using it? Rakdos Showstopper. Cool. Commander. If you're playing it with a card like Moat, that forces people to not be able to attack. If you've grounded your opponent's creatures and you have the Moat in play, this is a card that can kill the creature. There was another card in blue called Siren's Call that forced your opponent's creatures to attack, and it makes them... Yeah, let's look at Siren's Call for a second. It's basically got Siren's Call on the creature. So Siren's Call. That's this. So this is back when Magic was balanced, right? And there's no other reason. There's another way I can explain it. It's like if they did. So we talked about allied fetches and enemy fetches. In the enemy colors, Magic like blue and black, and then allied colors, you know, they tried to include the same effect in another color to make it balanced. That's the best way I can put it. So this Siren's Call is blue. It says cast this during your opponent's turn before their attackers are declared. The creatures the attacker active player controls attack this turn if able. At the beginning of the next end step, you got to destroy all non-wall creatures that the player controls that didn't attack. Ignore this effect if the player didn't continuously control that since the beginning of the turn. So the Showstopper deck, okay? Flying Trample, Showstopper enters the battlefield, flip a coin for each creature that isn't a demon, devil, or imp. Destroy each creature whose coin comes up tails. So this guy cares about imps. Imp tribal. You know what's funny? Does this say non-wall? Yes. So the Nettling Imp is an imp. It can force your opponent's creatures to attack. And if you have something bigger to block with, maybe they'll have to just attack your other opponents. Not. The commander wasn't a thing when Nettling Imp was originally printed. So now if you've got a threat, no, maybe 1/1 Death Toucher, and your opponent has a big creature, you can fend it off with the Death Touch creature, and then like the Nettling Imp can force your opponent to attack with it, and then they have to attack somewhere. Well, maybe they're just going to look across the board at somebody else and swing at them instead. But beware, it can be backfiring on you because some people think just get rid of the player who's the problem, and then my problems go away. Here's a Hoser card, Flash Fires. Uncommon, destroy all planes. This is moving up. Alpha, uncommon. The alpha cards are going to continue to be bought up right now by collectors because they're just coming down in price and they're pretty easily to get their hands on. You can get it for $111 at the vendor store. Somebody on TCG Player. See, this is why people are like, this is a thing about TCG Player. You want to know where all the pricing mistakes end up happening that throw this algorithm out? It's TCG Player. That's another reason I kind of beat up on TCG Player for a little bit here. This card triggers Californians. Tommy Siddons. Don't be sitting on the fence. Join the conversation with Tommy Siddons today here on the show. We're having a good one. We're talking about the Locust God, Solfim Meum Dominus. That card is actually played with the Locust God. All right, let's see here. This is the one that gives you like insects, isn't it? Whenever you draw a card, you get a 1/1 red insect creature. Draw a card, then discard. When it dies, return it to the owner's hand. Why are we playing Flash Fires? Ugh. We want to destroy all the lands? Gross. Maybe we're making everything a plains, right? Could you imagine it once if they complete the land cycle, like there was Boil, like, here's the thing. Here's a pretty good point. I asked the chat the other day, it's like Urbor Tomb of Yawgmoth, the land that makes everything swamps. And then we got the Yavimaya, the land that makes everything a forest. And I sort of asked, is like, when are they going to complete the cycle? Are we going to get the blue one? They're like, no, because Boil's a card. You could play if you had a card that made everything an island and then cast Boil, it's going to blow up all the lands. And I could see them making I could see them making maybe the red one perhaps, but maybe not. That's just too good.
So I don't think we're going to see, for the same reason, we won't see the blue one because of Boil. I think Flash Fires, Flash Fires, Boil, kind of opposites, right? For this, I think we're probably Locust God exploded recently. Yes, Blood Moon's the red one. Yeah, fair enough. So I don't think we're going to see the white one simply because a card like Flash Fires exists. That's all I'm trying to say. And then Guan Yu, the Sainted Warrior. Here's a card from Portal 3 Kingdoms, a rare. And this is probably going up in price just because horsemanship, right? A rare from Portal 3 Kingdoms, 131 bucks. It's got horsemanship, and when it's put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you may shuffle it into your library. This is a good one. If they try and kill it, you get it back. This sucker is a little bit overpriced for what you get. You want to pay $130 to get a 3/5? For 5 mana. It's just an Acacian Phalanx. That's all it is. There's a 3/5 for 5 mana. I'd rather get something else. But in Horsemanship Tribal, if you're a celebrity and you want to spend an extra $130 on some Portal 3 Kingdoms cards, go for it. I don't know. I'd probably try and find a better way to play it. That seems like let's see. Is there a pricing error? Yeah, you can get it for 50 bucks at Card Kingdom. I don't know where this $130 is coming from. Is there any sales on it? I don't think so. It seems like a kind of a pricing anomaly. eBay Buy It Now has it for 85 bucks. You got $55 from TCG Player and $52 from Card Kingdom for Guan Yu, the Salty Warrior. I don't know. Horsemanship. And then this is another card here. This one's for Lord of Atlantis. This one's for Nikachu, the Merfolk Master. The fella who loves Merfolk. This one, Lord of Atlantis, the original unlimited limited edition alpha. The original Lord for 2 mana. This is back when Magic was balanced. You got we need goatmanship. I'm down for some goatmanship. Love your... Give me some goatmanship. You trying to get my goat? All right. Lord of Atlantis, 1,367 bucks. You know, when that beta draft happened at Magic 30, I was hoping Nikachu would pull a Lord of Atlantis. Unfortunately, this is expensive Lord. There's other Lords out there, but this one, you got to have it in the Merfolk deck. You can have Master of Waves. You can have a few other Merfolk Lords, but at this point in time, the cops are at the door. Brody's got to roll. I want to thank each and every one of you folks for joining here this morning. You, amazing fans of Magic the Gathering, beautiful people who join me on this adventure each and every morning, Monday through Friday. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you folks for hanging out with me, hitting up the comment section. Sharing is caring, and don't forget to smile. If you're helping somebody, I'll try and wear a smile. Yeah, that's it. Have a good weekend, everybody. It's Friday. We're going to get out of here. I got one more day of work. It's Yabba Dabba Doo Day. Just like Fred Flintstone, I'm getting ready to slide down that dinosaur's tail. Yabba Dabba Doo. And we'll talk to you folks on Monday. Might have a mail opening video for you folks this weekend. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.